In last week's episode, we were leaving Norfolk to head offshore when our electric motor died. After several hours of beating into the wind and waves, we finally called Towboat to help us get back to Hospital Point so that we could send our motor controller back to the manufacturer and figure out what was wrong. We know the motor controller works, and we moved it to the motor where the motor controller wasn't working to see if the motor is broken.
Be able to fire it up and see what happens. First of all, I need you to turn the key on. Okay. Slowly try going forward. I don't want to put a lot through it. Maybe a couple hundred RPMs just to see what happens.
Okay.
Denali is really enjoying her bed with the fan blowing on her. So now she really is a puppy princess, right? You like that?
All right, Todd's sweating it out in the engine room, trying to figure out what to do. We're in full work mode. Got a little bit of glistening and not quite a butt crack going on.
Do I have a butt crack going on?
Not quite.
I've been working for years for that. I mean, at least my engine room is big enough to do some work in.
Right? So this is the two controllers. This is the one still working.
And then the Allen wrench is on the floor. Right, got the Allen wrench. There we go.
Alright, there's our broken
Okay, I need this on this rack.
The leaking stuff?
Well, it's water cooled. It's got antifreeze in it.
Not good. Don't get it on my rug.
Can you move backwards?
I'm trying.
Okay. Thank you.
You cannot lick that. Go on. That would not be good for you.
That is
the problem.
one
child.
Sevcon controller. There's an LED. I think it's right there. And it flashes with codes. So when it's solid green, it's working. And then I think it's got 18 or 19 different flash patterns that it does, like 1 and then off, 2 and then off, 3 and then off, up to like 18 flashes and then off. It's supposed to tell you what's wrong with it. And ours is number 3, which has 3 items on it, 3 possibilities, but what I think it is a MOSFET, which, I don't know, all you electronics gurus, as far as I remember, a MOSFET is something to do with like a power transistor that feeds power to something. So I think we blew a MOSFET.
Inside there?
I don't know if that's repairable from Electric Yacht or not. I don't know. We will find out. But anyway, I gotta drain this antifreeze, so I'm just gonna go dump it overboard for a minute. Just kidding. Just kidding. I have an antifreeze container to put it in. Then I gotta cap those ends so that I can ship it so it doesn't leak in shipping either. Yep. It's holding quite a bit of fluid. I didn't think it held this much, but I guess it does.
We are headed over to meet Chuck, a viewer on our channel. We need to mail our controller back to Electric Yacht. And we are so grateful to Chuck for coming and picking us up, because it was going to be a really long walk to get to UPS. All right, here's the free dock area. And they designed it poorly, so there's, at high tide, there's water over the docks. Got a boat here, a nice little area. And the ferries come in and out of here though. so you have to be careful.
And sometimes there's a bunch of sunfish sailboats taking up all the docks.
We had a great visit with Chuck. We want to say how much we appreciate all of you and enjoy visiting with you in person when our paths cross. The sailing community is really special when it comes to helping each other out. All right, we have our shade cloths down and everything battened down, and the storm's coming. We just felt the temperature drop. That is one of the big signs that you've got something coming down on top of you. It's when it's hotter than heck and suddenly it gets cooler. There's the storm coming in towards us. Everything still looks nice over there. Alright, so this is the boat that we're a little worried about. There is somebody on it. And he's pretty small. If he drags into us, potentially we can fend him off. So we have not drug since December of 2022. So it's been 2 years, year and a half. I really don't want to drag today. We're hoping that we're set good, but the reviews have mixed reviews here in this anchorage. Some people say its holding is great. Some people say that it's not at all. When we were at the other end of the anchorage, our anchor was stuck good when we tried to pull it up, but we don't know what's going on here. But this is going to go on until about 11 o'clock tonight. And this is part of this lifestyle, is being on alert and sitting up and watching and waiting and seeing what happens and making sure you're safe. It's coming. Should we put our stuff up?
Well, you don't want this to get wet, but let's see what it does. There's not much right now. I see the wind line coming across.
Whoa,
There we go.
there it goes. What are you doing with them?
Checking to see if the motor's working in case we need it. That wasn't bad. That was only, I don't think that didn't even go over 16.8.
No, it was just a gust.
Yeah.
Wind line came past us. Gonna turn us into it.
It's turning us.
We got full rain. Oh, that's so scary. Those guys are just coming up. I don't know if you can see them. There's a catamaran out there trying to get up here. There's a huge tanker blowing its horn at him. He sure looks like he's crossing his bow. Is he already across?
He might be already across, but it doesn't seem like he's giving him a lot of room.
Holy moly.
There was a tug on the other side of this guy. Holy crud, look at this guy.
It's got to be on the other side.
Visually, he is on the other side, but I don't know how far, but it doesn't look like he's got very much room. Probably want to be downstairs.
So that tanker has stopped out there. Or gotten really slow because visibility is down to 0. Well, that storm has passed us. We got more ahead of us, but we're watching these stragglers come in. I cannot even imagine what they just went through. Good morning. We had not a rough night, but just storms coming over the top of us most of the night. It is a little gray and cloudy, some rain off and on, and it's cooled off a ton. It's only like 71 degrees this morning, and it's not supposed to get over 80 today. That's the nice benefit of these kind of storms.
All right, everybody. Today is the day I'm going to unpickle the Watermaker. And so it's kind of a scary and I guess momentous day. One of the challenges that I had was that while we were in the boatyard, the boost pump accidentally got switched on while we were out of the water. So this guy here is the boost pump, and it goes to the sea strainer, basically, right there. And then that pushes the water through the pre-filters up into the high pressure pump, which then takes over and pushes it through the membrane to create your clean water. Now the problem is it has to hold a certain amount of pressure or provide enough water for the high pressure pump. If the high pressure pump gets starved of water because there's not enough there, it can ruin the pump because it needs the water to lubricate it. So you have to maintain a certain amount of pressure. So there's this gauge over here, and we need to have it somewhere between 5 and 10 pounds of pressure in that green. If it drops down into the red, that is not enough pressure. And so the question is, that high pressure pump ran in the boatyard with no water. Supposedly, it can run dry and not damage it. But we haven't tested it yet because the Watermaker was pickled. I'm gonna have to turn this stuff on and see what happens. Because the Watermaker has been pickled, I need to first of all get rid of all the chemicals and systems. So I'm gonna have to let this Watermaker create fresh water, and I'm gonna have to dump about the first 15 minutes worth of fresh water overboard to make sure that it's clean before I start putting it into the tanks. So I'm gonna fire this puppy up and see what happens. I have a valve right here. Needs to be switched on as well. That does not sound good. It's not boding well, so I need to find out if water's coming overboard. All right, I must have had to bleed the water out of the system, so I got a little valve right here that turns it on so you can watch the gauge, and you can see the water starting to flow through here. Now that I have good pressure there, turn on the high pressure pump and see what happens. Right here. And it seems to be holding okay. It's a good sign. Some water coming through there. Lots of water bubbling through here. So now, let's see what happens when I increase this pressure here. Thing is, I don't want to exceed 40 gallons per minute or per hour. It's a little low on the pressure gauge. Start a timer for 15 minutes. So this has only been running for about 5 minutes. Check how dirty the cartridge is already. So that was the 10 micron cartridge. And this water is way cleaner than it was in the normal ICW because we're closer to the Chesapeake. So I don't have a lot of the tannins in it, but it's still starting to get yucky pretty fast. It never got that dirty in the Bahamas that quickly. So, yuck. Been about 15 minutes. Now I gotta taste it. Looks pretty clean. 107 TDS. Okay, you all be my witness if I die. You know how it happened. Not bad. I think I can switch it to the tank. Yahoo! Set my dive watch so I know how many gallons we've run. Daily chores never end. So I got a bilge pump that has failed to work, keeps tripping the circuit breaker. And so I've pulled it out. It looks like the impeller might be stuck. So I'm going to take the bottom off and see if there's anything that I can see. So it's hooked to a stick. Laugh if you want. That's how they did it from the factory. But I pulled these screws out here. I'm going to pull this guy off. It looks pretty clean. But I don't know if that's supposed to spin freely or not. I guess I got to plug it in and see. Plug in my power supply. I got my leads. Alright, well, that appears to be working now. I think what it was, I don't know if I can find it or not in here. Alright, here in the garbage was this, which is a piece of a zip tie that looks like it had fallen into the bilge from somewhere and probably got sucked in, and it stopped the impeller from turning, and then it would jam up and kick the circuit breaker. So now I guess I put it back together, see if it works. Should try to figure out how to hook power up to that little screwdriver. That would help. Alright, let's see. Okay, I would say that that works. I got that taken care of in a hurry. Unfortunately, I wasn't in a hurry because having it mounted at a stick is a real pain in the butt. But that's how they did it from the factory in this boat. And trying to get a bilge pump in the same area, I don't have a good idea. If you guys have a good idea of how to do that and make them easy to, pull out and work on and then put back in, that would be nice. But let me show you this while I'm here. So this guy right here is a water witch, and basically it's a bilge pump switch. There's no moving parts. So when the water level gets up to here, it registers that, and then it'll kick it on to drain the water. Pretty cool, huh? Look at this cool little parachute cloud. It's actually behind two black clouds that you really can't see because they're the same color as the sky. You remember that water filter that I showed you after I ran the Watermaker? This is that water filter after it's sat about 3 more days. How's that for being black? All right, so Scott from Electric Yacht has just got back with me, and he said that the Sevcon controller that we mailed to him has checked out fine on the bench test, which now puts the problem back on the motor itself. So before he ships me that Sevcon controller, I'm going to test that motor that was paired with that controller by switching it up and using the other controller that I have and making them a pair to see if that motor will fire up. And if it does, then I don't know what, we're just good. But if it doesn't work, then we're gonna need a motor. All right, so what I've decided to do is, these are my wires right here. These 3, they're gonna have to connect down here on this row right here. That will be an extension for this to get me down to that motor controller. I'm trying to unhook this controller and move it with all the hoses on it. I just didn't feel comfortable with that. I wasn't sure I could make that work. So I'm gonna hook these up and see how they go.
All right, so we're getting ready to test. We know the motor controller works, and we moved it to the motor where the motor controller wasn't working to see if the motor is broken.
All right, so I got the pigtails hooked up, and then I bolted them together. And so now I'm gonna wrap them with electrical tape so they can't short out against anything, and then trade the plugs out. We should be able to fire it up and see what happens. First of all, I need you to turn the key on.
Okay, what do you want me to do? Turn on the key. Okay, it's on.
Okay. Slowly try going forward. I don't want to put a lot through it. Maybe a couple hundred RPMs just to see what happens. I don't want to move the boat too much. I don't want to run over a bridle.
Okay. It's not doing anything.
That's what I was afraid of. I got the 3 flashes again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Which is pointing to the motor, which kind of sucks actually, but more expensive than the controller. Are you okay?
I don't want to do this on camera.
Well. So I don't know, we don't have prices or anything yet back from Scott, but it's looking like that motor itself has got some sort of problem, and I don't know if it's in the
It doesn't matter where it is, it can't be fixed.
I don't know, he said there's a board, computer circuit board in the front that has some things that sometimes I have to replace, but I need to get a hold of him and see what he thinks. So
I just don't want to do this on camera.
it sucks. We'll figure it out. There's always a way, so figure it out.